back to Glasscast and Windowcast from the National Glass Association, Glass Magazine, and Window and Door Magazine. I'm Laurie Cowan, editor of Window and Door Magazine, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Rachel Vitello, associate editor of Glass Magazine and Window and Door.
Yeah, hi, Lori. We've got a great episode planned today where we'll be playing highlights from another amazing educational session from our BEC conference in Vegas. But before we get into that, we want to take some time to highlight some great window and door content that's coming up. So, Lori, can you tell us a little bit about the top manufacturers list and report, as well as your partnership with John Burns Research and Consulting? Because I know those will be of immense interest to all of our listeners.
I would love to talk about those. So, Window and Door's annual top manufacturers list and report is one of the editorial highlights of the year. I'm just now sorting through some of the survey responses and am excited to break down the information to share with everyone. Just a couple teasers. The overwhelming majority of companies report growth, sales growth, production growth, product offering growth, and more. Energy efficiency, color, and other aesthetic considerations, of course, rank high on the list of customer requests. But I'm also noticing more companies indicating they're exploring and investing in smart home technology. Automation has been prevalent in the manufacturing operations for some years now, but more companies are also starting to tell us that they're using artificial intelligence in their business. It's a really exciting time to see how companies are working not only on their product lines for their customers, but also working on the businesses themselves. The full report will be in the May-June print issue and also on windowanddoor.com. The report is also going to be bolstered by the latest information from the Window and Door Market Survey, which is part of an exclusive partnership with John Burns Research and Consulting. We're already coming up on 2 years of this quarterly survey for the industry, and our friends at John Burns put together a yearly comprehensive report each quarter, looking at quantitative and qualitative data, analyzing it, comparing year-over-year numbers, and also putting it into context with the larger construction and housing industries in the economy as a whole. Now, moving on to today's episode, we're going to play an excerpt from a presentation on the second chance workforce. The presentation featured some interesting insight from Courtney Little, President and General Counsel of Ace Glass, and Marcus Singleton, Chief Operating Officer of Ace Glass. Rachel, you were in attendance for this session. What can you tell us about the topic?
Yeah, so this was a really interesting topic that I think, at least for me, and I feel like I've said this about so many sessions at BEC, but I think that really speaks to how educational it was. It was a somewhat new topic for me. And so I just loved learning about the symbiotic relationship that there is between companies that participate in the second chance workforce and the people that get to benefit from it. So for those who don't know, the second chance workforce refers to people who are leaving the prison system and getting reacclimated back into kind of the outside world. And so it gives them an opportunity to have gainful employment, learn a trade, just kind of get back into the swing of things. And I think Courtney and Marcus really talked about how people who participate in the second chance workforce are really motivated employees, and that they've had so many success stories of people who have just worked their way up through the ranks. And they spent that time talking about the many benefits. They also didn't shy away from talking about, potential struggles that you may have. So I think it was really educational for everyone in the audience. And it's just a really interesting topic. And I think as we talk more and more about workforce development and recruitment and retaining employees, this can be such an amazing tool for companies to really take advantage of. So I'm excited to, play the clip and learn a little bit more about it.
Thank you, Rachel. It's a wonderful and timely topic for sure. And finally, before we play the clip, I want to shout out our BEC media sponsor, Vitro Architectural Glass. Now, on to the presentation.
So, how do you define the second chance workforce? What does that mean to you all?
Marcus has got a funny story on that.
Yeah, I got a pretty good story on that. When I went and interviewed some of our employees and production manager in particular, asked him, I said, hey, how do you feel about second chance employees? He said, oh, that never works out. I said, are you sure? I said, we have several guys here that have been here with us for years. He said, oh, you mean second chance, like they've been to prison, they've made mistakes in their lives, and they're coming through some sort of program to get reintroduced into society. He said, oh, those guys are great. The more of those people that we can bring on board, They come in, they're willing to work, they're focused, they're just trying to prove a point that they can better their lives for themselves. So that's just kind of what it is for us. It's just helping reintroduce people back into society to become a positive point in their life.
And what populations would you say this encompasses? So you mentioned maybe people who are coming out of the prison system, people who are in recovery.
Yes, it's so most of the people that we hire, we do have some kind of limitations on who we can hire, especially ones that go into the field just because of certain reasons they've been in prison. They can't work at schools, do things. We've had a lot of success with people that have been been incarcerated, usually because of drug charges or something related or tangential to that. We actually have our first female hire this year. So we've really, it's people coming out and they come through typically a prison ministry or a secular group that feeds them now. We've been doing it 20 years, so people in our community know that we're open to hire, and because of our experience, we've been able to share that with other companies in town and say, hey, take a look at this. We're all looking for people, and there's a whole population of folks that would love to get back to work because they've shown that recidivism is much lower when somebody has a productive job and can be self-sustaining and do that, and also that they do better when they have a program or somebody backing them up. So that's kind of what feeds us.
And you mentioned prison ministries. What other organizations have you all partnered with to establish this connection between this potential workforce and your company?
You do it or you? So what we've found is, so we've got some halfway houses that are typically church run, and so they're always looking for work for the people that are living there. We have some embedded ministries. There's one, Pathway to Freedom, that's in 2 or 3 different prisons in state, and I've actually gone in. They've got entrepreneurship classes inside, and they've said, hey, we've been talking about My Glass class. Said, hey, could some of our people get access to that? We'd love to pre-train them. So they're trying to get them ready. Like, what does your first day look like? What does your week look like? And any skill set they can give them to go and actually get applications out and doing that. But they've also told them the reality is that now that you have a record, you may have to start a business or be creative in how you're going to support yourself coming out of here. So that ministry does a great job. The other thing that's positive about that being embedded is they have to earn their way into that. They're kind of in a different block. They've got same security, but they have less problems because you got people that are the best of the best, or people that really do want to recover and get out of the system. And so they've really been a great positive force for that. So, and then recently there's a secular organization called She Build. Incarcerated women have a much harder time getting employed coming out of jail. The record hurts. There's less opportunities in general, I think, for women in lots of industries anyways. And so this group is very specifically trying to help women going into halfway houses find things. And so we started looking at, like in our manufacturing and even in installation, we use so much equipment now that it's reduced the manual, being able to pick up certain forces and things like that. So we actually, like I said, we're really happy that we've got 2 or 3, I think, that have applied now that are starting to look at us, and we're very interested in trying to bring in a whole different group of people.
And how did you make those connections? Did you seek them out in your community? You said there was some word of mouth that happened.
The first one was my dad knew some guys that were volunteering at a ministry, and they were and this halfway house, and they said, hey, do you have any jobs? We can't find anything. Would you give somebody a chance? I said, yeah, it's hiring off the street, you get what you get anyway. So at least these people have somebody that'll put their name on it. Like, would you recommend them? Would you put your name on them? They said, yeah, I've been mentoring a couple of guys for a year now, in the prison, and now they're coming into our halfway house, and I'd say they really get it and want to do better. And so the first couple were literally just a personal relationship of somebody that asked my dad, would you take a chance? And because he said yes and answered that call, kind of 20 years later, we're doing that. And we have some of those early people that came through those organizations still work for us and have become leaders and really developed and are very positive people in the community, have great families, are amazing people. And so I'm so glad that my dad, took that chance.
For sure. So tell me a little bit about what your approach has been when onboarding this population and how that approach has benefited your company.
Yeah, primarily, of course, when we bring these people on board, they typically start out in the production side of things, in the fabrication shop, and there's probably 2 or 3 that have already on their second chance that have been with us for years that kind of mentor these people. Just meet with them weekly, give them regular tasks, but check in on them and ask them how things are going from time to time, whether it's a good day or a bad day, but to be sure there's that true mentorship program there with them to truly check in on them, to make sure they know that they are appreciated and glad to be there, that they're not just Joe Blow here to do a job for a couple of days. We want them to be a part of our family, a part of the team.
And tell me a little bit about what the impact that they've had on your company. Like, is this something that you would recommend? I mean, obviously you're up here talking to this crowd, so you would recommend looking at this community as a viable workforce. What benefits have they brought to ACE Glass?
I'll go first, and I guess one of the big things, one of our core values is community, and that's definitely giving back to the community. And everybody that we let know that we are doing this and giving these second chance people are just truly appreciative of it, because people make mistakes in life and make bad habits, bad decisions, and it just happens. But to truly build that community, to let them know they're welcome.
Yeah, and I think their mentors, even their peers, are proud to be part of seeing somebody getting a hand up, to really stepping up. And you know, we all love to mentor somebody and see them succeed. And so I think everybody on our team takes pride in being part of that success. And then for our corporate reputation in town, like I said, over 20 years, we're now known for being somebody that does this and is engaged with the community and cares. And then I've had other companies, and so we get kind of a peer of other good companies who are saying, hey, how do I do this? How do I get involved? Or we're like-minded. And so I feel like we're aligned with some of the best companies in the state, not just in the construction industry, but in all industries, because we're seen as somebody who cares about the community and is innovative and doing some different stuff. So I think it's really built our reputation. And so that's really been nice because we can reach out to people and get some other information and help on things because they know that we are investing too with them. We're a good community member.
That wraps up this episode of Glasscast and Windowcast. Once again, thank you to Vitro Architectural Glass for being the BEC media sponsor. We'll see you all next time.